mummy's with the maggots now.
Death has come to your little town, Sheriff.
Well, hi there.
Hello, and welcome to Would You Die, the show where the horror was for love. I'm Austin Torres.
And I'm Anneliese Petersmark.
And today we are continuing Macabre May. Ooh. We got ghosties.
We do got ghosties.
Is this our first, legit ghost story?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Because Sleepy Hollow kind of with the Headless Horseman, but he's more of like a mythological cryptid than a ghost.
And I feel like he's like the Headless Horseman. Like,
right.
He is a ghost, but he's
the
headless
legend.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's a difference between a vampire movie and a Dracula movie.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Dracula's a vampire.
Yeah, agree.
And like the Wolfman and Werewolf. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But ghosts.
Good old-fashioned ghosts.
I love how you said that. Good old-fashioned. This is exactly what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we're talking about Crimson Peak.
Yes, we are. We are talking about Crimson Peak.
I'm just going to rip this Band-Aid off right now. This is a film that if you haven't seen it, you really should watch it before we talk about it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's because, like, I don't know if I quite say it's a mystery film. There's mystery elements, but there's a lot of twists and turns.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. I do think it does have some mystery elements in it. Kind of similarly to Sleepy Hollow, except for I feel like the way that Sleepy Hollow is set up is kind of this like detective story. Although that one, the twist, it's already there. It's already revealed for you. But similar in mood, I would say.
I think there's going to be a lot of comparing and contrasting with Sleepy Hollow and Crimson Peak because they're both very similar and very different and a lot. Listen, they are both similar and different. I'm so smart.
They are both similar and different. Yes, true. How so, Austin?
Oh no! You're gonna make me dive in?
No, we can talk about it as we get into the episode.
Okay, good.
So just for a brief synopsis of what Crimson Peak is about, this movie was done by Guillermo Del Toro, and it is about a young author named Edith Cushing, turn of the century England, or America, she's turn of the century America, meeting these mysterious siblings called the Sharp siblings, Lucille and Thomas. They are looking for funding for their iron ore mines that they have at their estate. And she ends up kind of starting a little romance with Thomas.
Ooh.
And things are not all as they seem, as is such with most horror movies.
This movie fucking rules.
Yeah.
We get to talk about our boy Guillermo Del Toro, who is a legend. And I don't want to say he's underrated. I don't think that's the case. But I think it's easy to forget just how much of a master of visual storytelling he is. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Because he's not underrated. People love him as they should.
Mm-hmm.
But because he's so lovable on like the social medias, because he'll just post like painting my miniatures today.
Yeah, that's true. He's just this like old grandpa.
There's this iconic picture of him with like Steven Spielberg and J.J. Abrams at like a miniature railroad store, and they all just have their toys.
That's very cute.
It's like these cinematic legends.
I love that.
With their toys.
He's just a very wholesome guy.
Back when Twitter was usable, he used to like just go in and be like, oh, look at this story, like the visual storytelling in this clip. And he did it with Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. Mm-hmm. And his breakdown of that was so enlightening. I'm a fan of Guillermo Del Toro, if you guys couldn't tell.
That's very true. That is something that we have talked about a lot, is your fandom of and love of Guillermo del Toro.
Although I have to admit, I don't think I've actually seen Pan's Labyrinth.
Really?
I don't think I have. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I know the pale dude
Yeah.
and Mr. Goatman. I think they're both played by Doug Jones. But I don't think I've actually seen the movie all the way through.
That's so interesting to me.
I think it's one of those movies that I always assume that I have. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wait a second. I don't think I have. But
That
The Shape
is
of Water rules.
That is so... Yeah, The Shape of Water does roll. I just can't believe you haven't seen Pan's Labyrinth, because that's
I don't think I
arguably
have.
his, like, most famous.
Yeah.
We'll have to do it. We'll have
I
to
would
do a
agree.
watch party.
I would agree with that. Maybe cover it on the pod. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Before we get too deep into this episode, I wanted to shout out something that I discovered this week, which is this guy, John DeMarsico, who is the director of the New York Sports Channel, specifically for the Mets. And he's also a huge film junkie.
Ooh.
And he has started, because he's the film director, he has started using like film like shots and stuff to do like the filming for the baseball game. So now when you watch like a Mets game, he has a bunch of like split diopter shots and like stuff.
Oh, you put this in the Would You Die group chat.
Yeah, and I just thought that was really cool, because if you don't know, producer Jeremy is a baseball coach. He loves baseball. Like, that's a huge thing. And then we just talked about like Brian De Palma and his like use of split diopter when we were talking about Carrie and stuff. And I just thought that was really a cool like intersection of all of our interests here on the podcast. So.
I think it is. I think it's really cool. I think you actually bring it up at the right moment, because we're talking about the visual storytelling of Guillermo Del Toro, who's a master at that. Brian De Palma, also a master at that.
Yeah, and that's what made me think of it, is realistically just this movie Crimson Peak is visually stunning.
Oh yeah, every aspect.
And, you know, Carrie has a lot of unique visual effects to it. So I just thought it was really cool to see that in a different format. You know what I mean? Like, we're used to kind of seeing those cool visual effects in film, but to see it in sports is really interesting to me. I think it's really fascinating to like watch the clips from those games. So I thought that was cool.
I bet that's going to catch like a wildfire across
I hope so.
all the different sports. Like, I can imagine the running back for the New York Giants getting pummeled by a Philadelphia Eagle lineman and fumbling through a split diopter or something like that.
Well, I was going to say, even imagine like Jared Goff throwing like a touchdown pass to Amon-Ra, and you can see him like waiting for it. And I just think, yeah, it'd be cool.
Dolly zooms on those big 60-yard bombs.
So since we're talking about things that are personal to us and personal like interests and stuff, what is your personal connection to this movie?
That was a master transition, my friend.
Thank you.
You're getting the hang of this. You got this.
I'm so good at podcasting.
Yeah. So I actually watched Crimson Peak for the first time in October of 2023.
Thanks, Letterboxd.
Yeah, I did not know that off the top of my head. I looked at my Letterboxd earlier. I watched it for the first time for Would You Die, actually.
Oh, okay.
Back when when Would You Die was an interview show, my guest was Amanda Buckhalter, and she picked Crimson Peak. And I said, oh, perfect. I haven't seen it. So I watched it. I thought it ruled. And then I watched it again for this episode. I still think it rules. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I got a funny story, though.
Okay.
A friend of my mom and I let us borrow the movie for like 5 years. We never got around to watching it, and we just gave it back.
That's so funny. That's hilarious. That's a really interesting connection to me too, because I have this obviously later in our superlatives, so spoiler alert, but I used to own this movie, and I don't know what happened to it. It must have gotten lost in like one of my moves.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
Did you lend it to Austin for 5 years?
That's also my concern, is maybe I just forgot that I lent it to you for 5 years, but no.
And I forgot that I thought I gave it back, but I didn't.
Right,
Oh.
exactly. And also somehow I'm a friend of your mom's in this scenario and not your friend.
That tracks.
This is how I find out that you actually just consider me your mom's friend.
Well, my mom's friends with my friends.
Of course. I love your mother. I just feel like if you were just like, you're my mom's friend, not you're my friend, that would hurt me a little.
That's how
I
Austin
see
pitches
what-
this podcast to his friends. He's like, you should listen to it. It's me and my mom's good friend, Anneliese.
What's the funniest thing? My
What?
mom's not going to listen to this episode because she hasn't seen Crimson Peak yet.
That's so funny because I was just about to shout her out, but now I'm not going to because she's not going to listen. I'm just kidding. So the first time I saw this movie,
Yeah.
I was in my college dorm room. I was 20. I think I had just turned 20 because I was still in the dorms. But I remember just like, I was in that like phase. You know how you go through phases with movies? I was in a phase where I was just watching all of the like most emo movies that you can possibly watch. Because if you haven't seen this movie, again, please go watch it and then come back. But
Yeah.
this movie is, yes, it's a horror, but it is also like a tragic romance. You know what I mean? That's a big part of the story. So I was watching a lot of just like really fucking sad movies and like emo movies and
Donnie Darko.
yeah, exactly. Like anything gritty I could get my hands on, that was it. And I watched this movie and I didn't know love stories could be like that. And I really enjoyed this movie for that purpose. And I think like that is really the first time that I started to cognizantly put together, because like I had seen Sleepy Hollow at this point already, but I think this is where I started to kind of realize that I was really into this specific genre, this more
the gothic.
gothic, macabre, like horror. And I had also just switched my major to English like earlier that year, so I was like really into like the pretentious literature at this point, you know what I mean? Like I was my whole childhood, again, very precocious, but like, you know, this is when the time of my life, because when you're in college you can get away with being this pretentious. Like I would be carrying around like a copy of like Edgar Allan Poe, and like, you know, I was very
And people would
mysterious
just
and cool.
assume, it's schoolwork.
It's schoolwork. It
Yeah.
wasn't, and I wanted everybody to think that I was mysterious and cool. Nobody thought that. Everybody thought I was just like going to my English class, which I also was. So, but you know, that was that. That's my
If you
personal-
did that in high school, people would be like, oh, she thinks she's mysterious. Like, they wouldn't think you're mysterious.
they would
like,
not
"Oh."
think I was mysterious. They would think I'm mysterious. Yeah.
But the nice thing about college is like, oh, yeah, she's just going to English class.
Yeah. Is like you don't know you're embarrassed. Like you're not embarrassing yourself, even though you would in any other context.
Right. But the thing with college is like, people are like, oh, yeah, they're just doing their thing.
Yeah.
It's a little more open.
Yeah.
At least that was my experience.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I can't speak to everyone's experience.
I can speak to everyone. We all feel that way.
Hell yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Validation.
Validation.
But yeah, so you brought up earlier that this film is old-fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great way to put it. Because not only is it Victorian Gothic, right, in its setting and its aesthetic, the story itself, it feels like something that is timeless.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So one thing that is interesting about this specific movie is it kind of pushes the boundaries as to what a gothic horror movie is. Generally, when we think of the gothic period of history, we are talking about late 1700s to early 1800s. This is the next turn of the century. This is 1800s to early 1900s, which was the Victorian era, and thus this movie is considered Victorian Gothic. It has the same elements that we've been talking about with all of our horror movies, but set in the Victorian era, which really lends itself very well to these types of, like, you know, the Gothic horror elements. And one thing that I really enjoy about this movie is that, especially when we get to Allendale, which is Allerdale, which is the hall that Thomas and Lucille Sharp own, it really mixes I say new, but new at the time technology
Right.
with this old Gothic manor, because when we get to Allerdale, it is falling apart. It is hundreds of years old. Like, it is a Gothic mansion.
Yeah.
But in it, there are some modern elements. There's, modern cookware. There is a telephone. There is a gramophone, which is a new technology at the time. Like,
he has like a steam engine outside for the
Yes.
purposes of mining.
It's almost steampunk in its effect.
Yeah.
Because it's so mixing like the old and this like idea that like Thomas Sharp is an inventor, and he is very much the epitome of the Industrial Revolution. He just doesn't necessarily have the capital to back that up. And so that kind of leads him to America, where he is trying to find these investors.
Right.
So, it is really interesting to see how Victorian Gothic mixes those traditional Gothic elements with the New Age Industrial Revolution stuff that we're used to seeing in the Victorian era. So, to get us started with our topic of Macabre May, I'm just going to go through our hallmarks of Gothic fiction.
Woo woo!
So our first one is our setting, which I think this fits so perfectly into our Gothic setting with these crumbling, castles and like old buildings. I mean, that's what this place is. This Allerdale Hall, otherwise known as Crimson Peak.
That is such a crazy reveal in the movie, though.
It is a crazy
Which is kind of
reveal in the movie.
silly because it's the name of the movie.
But I mean, but you don't know.
Yeah.
She doesn't know.
Right.
But like from the moment that they step into Allerdale Hall for the first time, because the first at least quarter of the movie doesn't take place there. It takes place in America.
Right.
In
the land of the free, home of the brave. What USA? USA.
I'm not willing to commit to that.
I get it. I was a Boy Scout. It comes out sometimes.
But it takes
Eagle, motherfucker.
That feeling when you talk about Crimson Peak and you just have to, announce your patriotism. So relatable.
Yeah. Anyway, so the first part of the movie takes place in the United States. USA, USA, whoop, whoop. And because Edith is American.
Yes.
Edith and her father, Mr. Cushing, are American. And then she gets married to Thomas Sharp and goes back to Allerdale with him. And he carries her over the threshold, and they enter, and she's like, it's cold. And then you look up, and the ceiling has caved in. And then you look down, and the floor is rotting because the mines are underneath them.
And a little puppy dog comes from like fucking nowhere and joins them. And she's like, yo, whose dog is this? And Tom Hiddleston, who plays Thomas, he's like, I don't know.
Thomas.
Spoiler alert.
Hiddleston.
He knows.
He does know. It's true.
But that comes later.
Yes.
I know we're talking about the setting, but I have to pivot real quick.
Okay.
Because this has been bothering me literally all fucking day.
Okay.
I need to talk about it right now.
Okay.
I did my fucking research. And by that, I mean, I scrolled all through IMDb and Wikipedia, and I scoured Google. They didn't name this dog. And what's worse is this dog isn't credited in the credits. It's such a travesty, right?
It is such a travesty that they didn't name the dog. I didn't know they didn't name the dog. Like, in the movie, they don't have a name for him?
No. The closest thing they give to giving it a name is when Jessica Chastain's like, come here, you little shit, and just snaps its neck. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, its name is Little Shit. I don't see the problem.
That's fair.
So, because, one, they didn't credit the cute little pupperoonie who
is my favorite type of dog, by the way. He's a Papillon.
Papillon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I love little small yippy yappers.
Yeah.
They're my favorite. Chihuahuas, Pomeranians, Yorkies. How do you pronounce
Papillon.
it? Papillon? Thank you. I love those kind of dogs. Augie. I love my little yipper snappers.
What kind of dog is Augie?
He's a little terrier mix. So He's got some rat terrier in him. He's got a little bit of Chihuahua. My mom think he has a little bit of Chinese crested in him.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a little bit more, but yeah, he's a terrier mix. Anyways, I bring all this up to say I feel like we need to name this dog, and I'm proposing Sir Puppington Woofford.
Sir Puppington Woofford.
Yeah.
I love that. I think it's beautiful, and that's his new name.
He's my favorite character, but also he died for our sins.
That's good, because the first name I thought of was Raoul.
Raoul?
Yeah.
Why?
Like Phantom of the Opera?
Like Raoul.
He's never seen Phantom of the Opera.
The fuck?
I'm sorry.
As I just watched it for the first time in 2023.
Oh my god.
I shouldn't be talking.
We should have done Phantom for this month.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Anyway.
I didn't program this month, guys.
Yeah, that's my bad. It's okay.
We got a musical coming, no worries.
I was going to say, I'm sure we'll get to Phantom.
At some point. But yeah, I derailed us. Please get us
That's okay, because
us back on track.
Sir Puppington Woofford kind of does relate to the setting, because one of the things that Thomas says is like, I don't know where this dog came from because it can't be a stray because there's no one for miles around. They are isolated. Like, this is the prototypical Gothic setting. Like we talked about in Sleepy Hollow, how the town is isolated.
Right.
This is even more than that. They are completely set off physically from anyone around them for miles, which nowadays with cars isn't that big of a deal, but at the time, like, that's a huge deal.
Right.
You can't get to anybody if you are sick or hurt or anything, which comes up because this is a horror movie, you know.
And people walk, and it's treacherous.
It's true. So in terms of moving on from the settings and talking about the supernatural elements, this is where our meat of the story is going to come in. We talked about this at the beginning. Good old-fashioned ghosts.
Ooh.
Edith has this special phenomenon where she can see ghosts. And this is not normal, but it's also something that, like, other people around her know about, because she most notably talks about it with the family physician, Dr. Allen McMichael.
I got to interject real quick. We're talking about Charlie Hunnam.
We are talking about the Sons of Anarchy actor, yes.
How are you going to cast probably one of the coolest motherfuckers on the face of the earth as this fucking dweeb?
I think he did a great job.
No, he's fucking phenomenal. He is so good in this movie. Why does this work?
I don't know, but here's my thing. Is I think they were like, we have to, because Tom Hiddleston, right? You know, this is like the height of Tom Hiddleston's power too, right? Like, this movie came out in 2015. So we were like fresh off of like Loki. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't cast Tom Hiddleston as the love interest for the girl and have her want to actively run away from him unless you cast someone like Charlie Hunnam as like the guy who gets her out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even saying like they have a thing romantically, but I'm saying like in order to motivate me to leave Tom Hiddleston, yeah, it's got to be Charlie Hunnam.
That's fair, because I feel like conventionally you switch them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tom Hiddleston is more equipped to play the dweeb.
Yes.
Charlie Hunnam, the SWAT. I mean, don't get me wrong. Tom Hiddleston is awesome in this role. I think Tom Hiddleston's perfectly cast.
I agree.
But I just never imagined Charlie Hunnam in this kind of role. And that's what makes Guillermo Del Toro so fucking good.
It's crazy to me that, like, since that, because this was 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't done a role like this. I mean, okay, so he was in King Arthur.
But that's more what
But
I
that's
imagine.
like, yeah, more
Charlie Hunnam. But Guillermo
a gritty
Del Toro.
retelling of that.
Guillermo Del Toro is such a visionary that he knows everyone, all the actors he's working with are talented as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But he sees what others don't
Yeah.
in them, and that's how we get these exciting roles for them. Because I believe Charlie Hunnam worked with, wasn't he in Pacific Rim?
I think so. I'm not sure.
So I think that's Guillermo Del Toro and Charlie Hunnam worked together on that. So having worked with Del Toro before, or Del Toro working with Hunnam before, he knew, oh, Charlie Hunnam, my boy, he's got range.
I always forget Pacific Rim is Guillermo Del Toro, which is crazy because it very much feels like a Guillermo Del Toro film. But I watched Pacific Rim before I knew anything about movies, you know?
No, that's fair.
And so then when I come back to that, I'm like, holy shit, this is Guillermo Del Toro.
And today we cancel the apocalypse.
I love that movie.
That
I think
movie's
you
so
need
good.
to know that I love that movie.
It's so good. My introduction to Idris Elba.
It's a good introduction to Idris Elba.
Hell yeah.
Listen, okay, this is my...
Oh, fuck, no. My introduction was Prometheus.
Oh, that's fair. My...
Hell yeah.
Also a good introduction to Idris Elba. Here's my tangent about Pacific Rim. One time, because now you've given me a platform, and now I'm going to use my platform.
Hell yes.
One time, one of my dear friends showed me the endless fan fiction possibilities that have to do with Pacific Rim, because you have to be the drift compatibility thing.
Oh yeah.
Think about that, but applied to soulmates. And so every single fandom that possibly has ever existed has a plethora of Pacific Rim fan fiction because of that.
Steve and Bucky.
I'm sure that I could literally, if you gave me 30 seconds, I could find a Stucky fan fiction that is about Pacific Rim.
That's what it's called.
Yeah. Anyway,
that.
that's my soapbox about how Pacific Rim is great for fan fiction. I'm getting off my soapbox. We're back to Crimson Peak.
Which is a banger of a movie, too.
Which is a banger of a movie, and I'm absolutely sure I could find some Crimson Peak Pacific Rim fanfic.
I just needed to say how I thought it was awesome that Charlie Hunnam plays essentially the dweeb, not romantic rival, it's not that, but the guy who wants to be the romantic interest.
Yes.
Just isn't. And how Guillermo Del Toro had the vision to be yeah, Charlie can pull that off. The coolest dude in the world. Charlie Hunnam.
Yep.
And also, I feel like we don't give Charlie Hunnam enough props for how good of an actor he is.
It's Stucky Pacific Rim fanfic. Just if you wondered.
It
exists.
Reporting live from the Would You Die podcast studios in... Where are we? Dearborn?
Westland, but yeah.
Westland, Michigan? Lisa just showed me, and I have seen with my own two eyes, Stucky Pacific Rim fan fiction.
You're welcome, everybody. It's out there.
It's out there. Links in the
episode bio. No, but if you have Google and a dream, you can find it. I promise.
If you have Google and a dream, I love that. That is fucking hilarious. All right, I'll get us back on track.
Please do. I'm sorry.
I'm taking us. Our drift is not compatible right now.
It's not.
I got to get the stream back in motion. Is that what? I don't remember. I love Pacific Rim too.
You're not doing a good job of getting us back here.
Did you know Kaylee Spaney was in Pacific Rim 2 Uprising?
So Edith sees ghosts, right?
Yeah, Edith sees ghosts.
And Charlie Hunnam's character is kind of the only one who knows, because at the beginning of the movie, they are talking about it, and he talks about, he compares it to color blindness, right? Where he's like, certain people can't see blue or green or whatever the colors are, but they know they exist because other people tell them. So seeing ghosts could be similar. You were tapped into a different wavelength that other people aren't, and it is, part of your, just the way that you see the world. And one of the ghosts that she sees most often is her mother's ghost, who warns her throughout her life, beware of Crimson. And so she does not realize when she gets to Allerdale Hall until much later that it is nicknamed Crimson Peak.
And it's such a badass reveal, too. It's I think directly halfway through the film. And Tom Hiddleston says it.
And he says it casually.
Yeah. And she's like, what did you say? What did you say?
It's a really chilling moment. And, the tone shifts immediately. Because, again, he's kind of just talking and, saying things about his, work and everything. And then he says Crimson Peak. And her face, white as a sheet. Which is really hard for her to do because that actress is already the most pale woman I've ever seen.
Do you know how to say her name?
Mia Wasikowska?
I'm not even gonna try. But Mia,
Mia.
she's good.
She is good.
She's
also
really
in your
good.
other favorite movie.
Don't you fucking dare. I'm sure it'll come up next week.
I'm sure it will, but we have already mentioned it on this pod. But she is also, if you are unfamiliar, had trouble placing her. She is the star of Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton ones. I couldn't think of his name.
That's fine.
But her mother's ghost isn't the only ghost she sees.
Right.
She sees several throughout the house. And she asks Thomas, she's like, has anybody died here? And I can't remember who answers, Thomas or Lucille, but
I think Thomas does.
But he's like, this house is hundreds of years old. Like, probably, but not like, you know.
No, Thomas does, because I remember this specific line. Because I'm sure many souls have come and gone.
That's a crazy thing to say. That's so pretentious. But yeah, so they all are there and they're all kind of haunting her throughout the narrative. But the one kind of, I wouldn't say it's unique to this movie, but it is kind of unique to this month, is that ghosts are not the bad guys in this movie. They are harbingers for sure, but they are not the ones actively trying to hurt Edith.
I agree, but I have a question.
Okay.
Is the Headless Horseman a bad guy?
I mean, I guess no, but like in that he's just kind of a catalyst and doing whatever, but he also is motivated by bloodlust.
Like, that's how he got there.
Yeah.
But in the
like,
context of the story,
but the ghosts are not harming her at all.
That's true.
They're there to warn her.
And the Headless Horseman be harming people.
He be killing. He be out there.
But, okay, that's fair. Very fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, because none of the ghosts do anything to harm anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes a crucial moment.
It does. And I think it's really interesting because, again, this movie kind of plays with the idea that humanity is sometimes the scariest thing you can be as human, and have human feelings that maybe you aren't necessarily supposed to have.
And that's something Guillermo Del Toro kind of explores a lot in his work. Like I'm
Shape
thinking
of Water, man.
Yeah, specifically Shape of Water.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we move on to those themes, though, I wanted to talk about Iron Ore as kind of a character and a horror element in this story. So the whole premise of the reason that Thomas has come to America is that he is there to get investors for to mine the iron ore that's on his property. There is like a surplus of it, and it is so bad that is like seeping through the floor. This movie's goopy.
Goopy.
I mean, these ghosts are goopy, bro. Ugh. But he doesn't have the money, and
right.
So when he fails to get investors, something that we learn later is that he marries rich women with no families, kills them off, and takes their money. And when that runs out, he goes and finds a new one.
Yep.
That's kind of what Edith's role is here in the mansion at Allerdale. And so iron ore, as I said, it is the catalyst for everything. It is the reason that they do these things. But it is also like this horror element, because throughout the story you are seeing this bright red like dirt and clay everywhere in these big vats in the house, under the floorboards,
it's seeping through like blood.
Yes, it is the most like visceral and bloody like thing. And realistically, I just find that so fascinating. I really find it fascinating anytime a horror movie is able to play with the color red in a way that isn't blood. And I think this might be the most unique way that I've ever seen that happen. And so as such, this is another tangent I'm going on. I planned this tangent out before I knew that I was going to go on 25 different tangents this episode. But here's another one. So if you're not from Michigan, if you don't know anything about Michigan, one of the things that we are kind of known for in the olden days is iron ore. Iron ore is harvested especially in the Upper Peninsula and like parts of Wisconsin. If you have ever heard the tale of the Edmund Fitzgerald, it is a ship that sank. It was filled with iron ore. And I just think that a horror movie about the Edmund Fitzgerald or some similar ship on Lake Superior. First of all, I've always thought that would be such a cool concept because Lake Superior is scary as shit, man. That place is haunted, and I love her.
I'm sure many souls have come and gone over the years.
Yes, I'm sure
Lake
many.
Superior.
But utilizing the way that Crimson Peak does the iron aura as like the blood concept, I think would be so fire. And that's all I'm saying. I think that concept should be played with a little bit. Austin, you're free to take that idea if you would like to adapt that.
Dear listener, she was looking me intense in the eyes. She's like, I'm literally talking to a filmmaker right now.
I am, in fact, talking to a filmmaker right now. But like, so I love Michigan. I think Michigan's a great place, and I think it's a very cool and underrated place and has a lot of history that nobody really explores in movies.
Dogman.
And like, we get a lot of, if we get movies about Michigan and specifically realistic movies about Michigan, it's a lot about Motown, which there should be. I fucking love Motown and the Motor City and the history down here. But up there, that's ripe with mystery, man. There's shit up there in those woods and in those lakes that we don't know about and we're not fucking with. And I think we should fuck with it. Well, fictionally.
Yeah, because literally, isn't that what Enbridge is doing?
Yeah.
But no, I agree. There's a lot of stories to be told in the Upper Peninsula and the Upper Mitten.
Yes.
Man, it's cool shit up there too.
It's cool shit.
And scary shit.
Highly recommend a trip to Michigan if you've never made one. It's
yeah.
a cool place.
Oh yeah. You can do everything in Michigan.
Yeah, you can.
There's beaches. There's Detroit Rock City.
There's beaches and no sharks. There's Detroit, which is a beautiful city on the come up. We'd love to see it.
Are two like nationally major universities.
Yes.
If that's your thing.
There are 3 out of 4 of the sports teams in Detroit are on the come up.
That's true.
My Red Wings are coming. They're gonna they're coming. This is their year.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say.
We got dunes.
We do. Be careful if you go down them. You got to climb back up.
Yep.
Or else they'll send a helicopter and it's very expensive, I've heard.
There's a lot of camping opportunities in Michigan. You could do everything. There's a theme park with roller coasters.
Who
Michigan's
are we?
Adventure.
Tim Allen?
If you live here, you get to beat the Green Bay Packers twice a year.
Hell yeah.
So the themes of this movie... This was not necessary. This was so rude. I gave a shout out to your team enough. Like, that's fine. Anyway. So the themes of this movie, though,
loneliness,
which is sometimes how I feel being a lone Green Bay Packer in Michigan.
Tragic.
It's tragic. But so loneliness. Again, every character is alone and they start out alone.
Yeah.
Edith is, but at the beginning of the movie even, kind of isolated in this need to be a writer and to prove herself. And especially as a woman writer in a man's world, a male-dominated field. And she has her father, who doesn't really understand what she's trying to do, but supports her anyway. She
understands him more than he understands her.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's true. But he doesn't last very long. He dies pretty quick.
Pretty brutally.
Very
violently. There's a lot of red and it ain't iron ore.
Not always, no. And then there are Thomas and Lucille, the Sharp siblings, who are both lonely in their own ways. Again, major spoilers. I'm just going to say it one more time. Thomas and Lucille are siblings, and they are also engaged in a romantic relationship with each other. Kind of spurred on by the fact that their mom kind of left them alone and just isolated, and all they knew was each other. Even Lucille says it. The only love, the only warmth that we knew was from each other. And so Thomas, the younger sibling, is very much implied to be kind of imprisoned by Lucille.
Yeah.
Not necessarily physically, but just like emotionally does not necessarily feel like he can branch out or leave or be on his own. And he loves Lucille. He does. We see as we get further into the movie, it may not be the same way that Lucille loves him, but he does love Lucille. One of the moments at towards the end of the movie that I think is really emotionally impactful is when he is talking to her and is like, we can leave this place. We can go and we can start over. And it can be just the three of us. And her face just breaks down because she realizes in that moment, her brother may love her, but he loves her like a brother.
Right.
And he is in love with Edith and wants to go. And she doesn't want that.
Because she's in love with her brother like a lover.
Yeah, like romantic styles.
Like Alabama.
Like Alabama. But Lucille is also kind of consumed by this obsession for her brother and therefore is lonely in and of herself. She realizes as the movie goes on that she is losing him.
Mm-hmm. And so, she gets really possessive and she's very cold to Edith.
Yes. She's not at the beginning, which is a really interesting slow descent to watch because when she is picking her out as a mark and is thinking this will be a good person to trick, she's very warm as if she were a sister. And then as it's apparent that Thomas's feelings for Edith are real and not just manufactured, she gets colder and colder and angrier and angrier as well.
Right. And I think part of it is also because Edith is so strong-willed. She's not as easy to put away for Lucille.
Yeah. One of the exemplifications of this loneliness in Lucille is when Edith and Thomas go to town and they end up spending the night because of the storm. When they come home, Lucille very quickly realizes that they have slept together, which we find out later is something that he has not done with any of the other women.
Right.
And she is livid and she throws whatever she was cooking on the stove onto the counter. And one of the things she says is, "You left me all alone in this house. I didn't know whether you were," she kind of tries to recover by saying I didn't know whether you were hurt or whatever.
Right.
But her first reaction is, "You left me alone."
Right.
And I think that's her fear. And that is something that is really, I believe, stemming from the psychological elements of this movie, which is kind of our next theme that we're going to deal with.
The ghosts are a metaphor.
The ghosts are a metaphor. They are kind of a metaphor for the bridge between sanity and insanity.
Also, that should have been my quote for the beginning of the episode.
The ghosts are a metaphor?
I like that quote.
That is a good metaphor. But it's implied when the doctor comes in, when Charlie Hunnam comes in, and he is kind of going through their backstory, and he says, I don't think that, Lucille was sent away to boarding school, but I don't think it was boarding school. I think she was locked away.
A different kind of institution,
exactly.
I believe is the quote.
Yes, it is. And he's basically implying that she was locked away for her mother's death. Because she was so young, obviously, they did not keep her there.
Right.
And I think that might be the moment that, Lucille develops more of this codependency. Or at least it amplifies, right? Because she is sent away on her own and probably locked up in isolation because that is what they did at that time.
Right. And she also split her mother's head into two.
Well, yes.
That is some context.
Deserved. I'm saying
for listener context.
That's fair. But yeah, so this idea that Lucille's loneliness comes from her insanity is important, and her paranoia.
And that affects Thomas.
He's not allowed to build meaningful relationships with anybody.
Right. So he's stunted as a result.
Yeah. A lot of his mannerisms are very childlike naivete.
Right. Tom Hiddleston's so good.
He's very good. So Edith starts to see these ghosts, and one of the ghosts that she sees is the baby.
Right.
And what she originally thought was that the baby belonged to one of Thomas's previous wives, and Lucille killed her. That is not the case. The baby was Lucille's and Thomas's. And tragically, the baby was born wrong, as often happens when babies are products of incest. But one of Thomas's previous wives claimed to be able to fix it.
Right.
And we don't know, like, what that was. We don't know if that was... I tend to believe that it was probably just a way of prolonging, like, her life.
Yeah. I think I agree.
But that's kind of the other thing. I mean, again, we could put this right into Mommy March. That's another way of, like, showing Lucille's kind of instability is...
Yeah.
Losing a child is really, really difficult. Whether or not the child is, you know, a viable, you know, living being.
Right.
And we don't know what was wrong with the child. She just says he was born wrong. So we don't know if it was health issues or if it was, you know, mental issues. We don't know. But if the assumption is the child died from health issues, which I tend to believe is the case.
Yeah.
That can be really, really difficult for a mother.
Oh, definitely.
So... which kind of leads us into our third theme, which is this death and grief. Obviously, death surrounds this entire movie. Edith is an orphan who sees ghosts. Like, that is her character to its core.
And the whole movie, well, not the whole movie. I don't want to say she gets over it kind of quick, but, like, there's this truly heartbreaking scene when she has to identify her father's body.
Oh, God, yeah.
After he gets just brutally fucking murdered in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot overstate how brutal this scene is.
It's so tragic because she just starts kind of like listing facts about him. Like she's like, he was really so worried about getting old. That's why he dresses so well.
And she's talking in the present tense too. She's like, because they want to kind of do an autopsy because Charlie Hunnam's character's there and he starts to get a little carried away and like, oh, here, like he's about to make a breakthrough and Edith just goes, no, don't touch him like that. Don't treat him like that.
Yeah.
Don't touch him like that because he's self-conscious of how old he looks. That's why he doesn't want people like looking at him there. And she just starts to break. It's really, I teared up.
Yeah.
It's a emotional scene. So on this episode of Would You Cry?
On this episode of Would You Cry? Yeah.
Is this the saddest movie we've talked about on the pod so far?
It might be.
I think it is for me.
I think so. Yeah. I think it might be for me tied with Carrie.
Carrie didn't make me tear up though. But I think when you think of Carrie's also a tragedy.
That movie does make me tear up. That movie makes me cry a lot. Yeah.
I dig it. I think Carrie's but for me I would give it to Crimson Peak.
Fair.
Then maybe Carrie would be number 2. Hereditary's a laugh riot.
That one's something.
No, Hereditary got some grief to it. If Crimson Peak came out a few years later, would we be saying that this shit's elevated?
We probably would be. It's a lot of like theme heavy shit. And this is my problem with elevated horror is that most movies are theme heavy shit. Pretentious film bros out there. Austin. No.
But is Crimson Peak a movie that feels like a movie?
I think so.
I think so too. That was our most heated debate yet.
It was a really...
I think so. I think so too.
Yeah, that was a really contentious one.
Listeners, choose your side.
Do you believe that this is a movie that feels like a movie?
Yes.
Or yes?
Yeah. Yeah, there's only one option.
Yeah.
Team Anneliese and Austin.
Yeah. Or Team Jeremy, who doesn't have a comment.
Boo.
I watched 8 minutes of this movie. In fairness, it was on a day I got home from a weekend lawn baseball tournament.
What was the 8 minutes you watched?
The first date.
The first date. And then
so was finding out that Tom Hiddleston and Jessica Chastain were in an incestuous relationship in real time really alarming for you?
Oh, mind-blowing, yeah. That was crazy. This is how people should watch movies. Just have them explained to you on a live podcast. It's really riveting.
That's amazing.
We got to go through all the like Casablanca and Lawrence of Arabia. The Sixth Sense.
Yes. So I want to talk about cultural impact of this movie and things like other projects that are similar to it. I don't necessarily know that this movie specifically has a lot of cultural impact.
I was about to say, this one didn't really make a big splash at the box office. And
Correct.
When you compare it to Guillermo Del Toro's filmography, it's not as beloved as Pan's Labyrinth.
Which I think is disappointing because I do think it's a phenomenal movie.
Yeah. But go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, but when you're on the level of Guillermo Del Toro
Yeah.
and you have movies the stature of Pan's Labyrinth, you make enough of them. They're not all going to be not every movie's going to be your best movie. It can only be one.
Right, exactly.
I think the general consensus is Pan's Labyrinth, but The Shape of Water's the one that got him the Oscar.
Yeah.
So did his Pinocchio.
Mm-hmm.
That got him an Oscar. Pacific Rim canceled the apocalypse.
Literally, yeah.
And
is keeping the fan fiction industry live and well.
I think this is more akin to Nightmare Alley.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a phenomenal film.
Mm-hmm.
No one really talks about that one either.
Yes. So there are two main things that I wanted to talk about in our cultural impact section, which again are not necessarily movies that this inspired, but just like media that is similar if you were looking for something to watch after watching Crimson Peak. And the first one that I want to mention is Penny Dreadful.
I've never seen it.
Which is a TV series that nobody has ever fucking seen. And it's so good. It's so Crimson Peak.
That's with Eva Green, right?
Yes. Penny Dreadful is a show that takes place in the Victorian era. It takes place in the late 1800s, and it is in London. And it stars Eva Green and Josh Hartnett. And
I like him.
yeah. And it is kind of what it says on the tin. So Penny Dreadful was a type of British fiction published in newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
An example of Penny Dreadful would have been the Adventures of, oh my god, why can't I think? The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. I was going to say the Adventures of Arthur Conan Doyle, but that's not it.
Who gets mentioned in Crimson Peak.
Or Sweeney Todd would be another example of a Penny Dreadful. It was published as a serial in newspapers.
We could talk about that next week. Ayo!
Ayo!
Shameless plug to the future.
Yes. But it includes a bunch of characters from Victorian Gothic fiction. Dorian Gray is in this. Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, Van Helsing. They're all Dracula, Renfield. They're all in this fucking show. And it's so well done and it's so good and nobody's ever watched it. So here's my plug. Please watch this show. It's phenomenal. I think everybody should see it.
So is it like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
Kind of, yeah.
I liked that movie.
Yeah.
And people say it sucks, but listen. It came out in 2003. I was 8.
Yeah, so it was
I don't know if I want to test the theory, though.
Yeah.
I think I want to hold on to my childhood memory.
Yeah, no. But this show is 27 episodes total. It's 3 seasons. Came out between 2014 2016. So it's a relatively recent, well-shot show, well-made show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's phenomenal, and it is very Crimson Peak in tone, in style, and in story, if that is what you are looking for. And the other thing that we have to talk about, because if we did a Gothic horror month with Guillermo Del Toro and didn't talk about this upcoming movie, then that would be wrong, morally. And that is the movie that is coming out in November 2025, directed and written by Guillermo Del Toro, Frankenstein.
Frankenstein's interesting.
I'm so excited. Are you not excited?
I gotta see it. It's one of those things where it's all right, I have a story. Some things just sound too good to exist, too good to be real.
Okay.
Because he is such a great fit. Here's my thing.
I'm ready.
Back in 2021,
No.
there was a perfect movie for me.
Okay.
And I didn't believe it. It's just way too up my alley. How can I possibly like it? You mean to tell me that my favorite filmmaker of all time, Steven Spielberg, is going to remake what I think is the greatest musical of all time in West Side Story. That's destined to be a disappointment. And then I saw it and I fucking loved it, and it's one of my favorite movies ever.
I was gonna say it literally wasn't. It was so good.
But that's where I'm at with the Guillermo Del Toro's Frank. It just sounds too good to be true.
If you let yourself, like, if you go in with extremely low expectations, then you feel like you'll not be hurt.
But like, I'm not doing it consciously. It's just something in me. And like, that movie, it just feels like it's too good to be true. So until I see it, I can't process it. You know what I mean? Like, my brain can't process this movie right now.
I think that's super fair. I'm going to talk about it anyway because I'm really excited.
Please.
So
there's also a Predator movie coming out that month.
That's true. So Frankenstein, I'm gonna talk about it because Guillermo del Toro has been working on this since 2007.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's when he first said he wants, like, his dream role, his dream thing to make was a faithful adaptation of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
And he had been drawing up, crafting drawings of the monster and getting ready. And then basically when the strike happened, the WGA strike, like, in 2008.
Yeah.
He stopped, he, like, shelved it. But this movie is absolutely stacked. Just off the jump, the three, like, main people, Oscar Isaac is Frankenstein.
The doctor?
Yes,
okay.
Doctor. Jacob Elordi is Frankenstein's monster, which I wasn't sure about until I saw him in costume. He looks baller.
Jacob Elordi. What's he in?
Saltburn.
I haven't seen Saltburn.
Elvis.
Oh! Elvis. No,
that's the other guy.
That's the other one. He's in the show
he's
Euphoria.
In the kissing booth. He's in Euphoria.
Wait.
He was in Priscilla. He plays
the Kaylee
Elvis.
Spaney. The Kaylee Spaney one.
I was like, he does play. I was like, I'm not crazy. He plays fucking Elvis.
That's the second Kaylee Spaney mention I've done today.
That's true. But yeah, he was Elvis. I'm not crazy. He was in Priscilla though.
Kaylee Spaney in a gothic horror movie when?
Now.
Yes, Jacob Elordi.
He's also casted in Wuthering Heights, which is
we don't need to talk about that.
weird.
I have thoughts and opinions, but that's not for a horror movie podcast. It's fine.
Okay.
But he's got Mia Goth is Elizabeth
Ooh.
Lavenza, Victor Frankenstein's fiance. Christoph Waltz is in it. Felix Kammerer.
I love Christoph Waltz.
Lars Mikkelsen.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a good cast. It's a really good cast.
Like I said, Guillermo Del Toro knows how to cast a film.
He knows how to cast a film. Like, will it be good? Who knows? We'll have to watch. But is it beautifully casted? Yes.
I don't think Guillermo Del Toro has a bad movie.
He doesn't. But you're the one who said you wanted to be careful.
Well, like I said, it's less that it's not anything to. It's more that, like, it just sounds too good to be like.
Yeah.
I'm not cautious. It's just my brain can't process it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie that might feel like a movie.
You're funny.
But no, I think it'll be good. I mean, Guillermo Del Toro doing Frankenstein, but there are a lot of Frankenstein adaptations.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: he loves his monsters, and he understands the monsters. So, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Superlatives.
Who would you save?
So, I don't want to steal anyone from your notes.
You can steal the one from my notes because it was going to be yours, wasn't it?
Technically, you're stealing from me, and I just know you were about to.
Yeah.
I would save Sir Puppington Woofford.
Yeah.
That little guy is all of our little guys.
He's a little guy.
He deserved better.
He really did. He kind of died very unceremoniously.
And all he did was yip and yap. Like, as he should. He's a young little yapper.
Yeah.
I love him. And then he was playing fetch with Edith. And then he was hunting ghosties with Edith.
Yeah.
I miss him.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Sir Puppington Woofford, in our hearts forever. From 18-something to 18-something.
True.
Who would you save?
So I said Edith / Sir Puffington Woofford because
But Edith didn't die.
Edith didn't die, but most of mine never die.
Edith saved herself.
I mostly just want to save them from the trauma. I
That's
understand
fair.
that would mean that there was no movie, but I am sad about it. It's fine.
That's there were a lot of deaths too, and you didn't save any of them, except for Sir Puppington Woofford.
Yeah.
What a legend!
Little legend.
What is your favorite scare?
So specifically, the ghosts like reaching through the clay, the ones that are all like draped in red because
Oh
they're
yeah,
like, oh, it's so creepy. I don't like it, but I love it. You know.
there's some good jump scares too.
Yeah. What was your favorite scare?
This isn't necessarily a scare. It's just sheer brutal violence.
Fair.
And it's when Daddy-O gets his head rocked
Yeah.
over and over and over again
Yeah.
into a kitchen. I was about to say with a kitchen sink. It's into the kitchen sink. It's brutal. It's violent. It's disgusting. I love it. And it hurts me too because I love that character.
Yeah.
And we talked about the scene afterwards a little bit, which is heartbreaking. But this isn't a particularly violent movie.
No.
So for it to go 0 to 60 like that.
Yeah. And that's probably
yeah.
the most violent part of the movie, honestly.
When it gets violent, it gets violent. Like, we haven't mentioned this yet, but Lucille kills Thomas.
Yeah, and she kills him in a pretty fucked up way.
She stabs him in the fucking face.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And, like, the thing that I mean, though, when I say, like, it's almost not violent is, like, she does it so gently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she kind of just, like, pushes it into his face.
You know what wasn't gentle,
Crazy.
though?
What?
Edith just bashing Lucille over the head with the shovel.
Yeah, that's fair.
I heard you the first time. I was not expecting that one-liner.
Yeah,
But I was like, hell yeah.
that's crazy. What would be your Tony Todd Award for movie MVP?
So I've been thinking about this all day. The easy answer would be Sir Puppington Woofford.
Okay.
But I just can't. I just can't mention him enough. But no, seriously, I've been thinking about it. It's like all the performances are incredible. The production design of this film, the costume design, the original score, the editing, the cinematography, everything about this film is just impeccable. So if I have to give this MVP award, I have to give it to the director, Guillermo Del Toro, for putting all of this together.
That's fair, yeah.
So he would be my Tony Todd MVP.
That makes a lot of sense.
For this film, just because I love every aspect so much in this movie, and what a dude.
Yeah,
He's a good dude. Knows how to make a good picture.
he does.
How about you? Who is your Tony Todd Award recipient for movie MVP?
So this is interesting because we haven't really talked about her performance as much as I feel like we've talked about the other ones. But mine was actually Jessica Chastain.
She's incredible.
I think she does really, really well. And, like, I know she's done other horror movies, obviously. But, like, this is, I don't know. She just plays Psycho, but, like, barely contained Psycho so well.
I don't think she's played a role like this.
No.
Because the horror movies I'm thinking of her in being is It Chapter 2, where
And
she plays
Mama.
adult, and Mama, yeah,
Yeah.
but she's not really psycho in those
No,
movies.
she's not. So, yeah, I think this is kind of the first one where she's the big villain. Like, she's
Right.
the big bad. And I love her. I love a crazy bitch. You know what I mean? Like, she does crazy bitch in this movie.
She went a little too far, though,
In performance?
in killing Sir
Oh.
Puppington Woofford.
That's fair, but I don't think that was her decision.
If I ever see her, it's on site.
I'm gonna kill Jessica Chastain because she killed a dog in a movie.
Not kill, but vengeance will be mine.
Extremely stern talking to.
The email will be strongly worded. I guarantee you that. No, I love Jessica Chastain. I think she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, to play that kind of crazy and still have that much empathy for the character.
Yeah.
Good shit.
All right, is the score better than Jaws?
No.
No. It's not.
Pretty good though.
Pretty fucking good.
Is it the best of the month?
No.
I think it is.
It's not. But that's okay. You can be wrong.
Well, there's only one other movie that I haven't seen. So far, I think it is.
So far, that may be true, yes.
But I have a feeling I'm going to like this score more than the next one, so
That's because
I'm confident.
you're dumb. Uneducated. But it's fine. That being said, the score is phenomenal. Fernando Velasquez is very prolific composer.
Mm-hmm.
Most really known for The Orphanage and Mama, which we mentioned.
Hey, we just mentioned
before.
Jessica Chastain.
Yes. But yeah, he is a Spanish film composer. He has done a lot of films in Spanish speaking films that haven't necessarily translated over into the English audiences.
Mm-hmm.
But his most known ones that you would have seen as an English speaker are The Orphanage and Mama, most likely.
Yeah, because The Orphanage kind of transcended the language barrier.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
Mama's a good movie, too.
Yeah, I love Mama.
Would this make a fine addition to your collection?
So, as I mentioned before, I used to own this movie. I don't know what happened to my copy of my DVD, but I'm really annoyed by the fact that I no longer own this movie. So, yes, I would buy this film. I have bought this film. I will probably buy this film again. So, what about you?
Yes, I stole it from Lisa when she wasn't looking. I would. It's funny because
You did own it for 5 years there.
I borrowed it for 5 years. I rented it to watch it again.
From your mom's great friend Anneliese.
Yeah. I need to own it though. I just need to pony up and get it. Because I would own it. I think the movie's phenomenal.
That's good. You got your Letterboxd review out?
Nope.
All right. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'm pulling mine up.
All right. So I rated this movie 4 stars, and I said love stories with ghosts are awesome, man. I don't know why I decided that I was gonna be the Big Lebowski when I wrote this review, but that's what I put.
I feel like okay. So you were the Big Lebowski. I was fucking annoying. And my Letterboxd review, I also gave it 4 stars and a heart. But I've noticed
You're kind of a heart whore.
I'm a slut for hearts. I like movies, okay?
You do like movies.
But even if I give something 2.5, I might give it a heart. I'm like, it wasn't very good, but I liked it.
I had a good time.
I had a good time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what'd you say?
I said, Crimson Peak, more like Crimson Peak Cinema. Hey.
Hey.
And I literally typed out, hey.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you did.
And someone liked it.
That's good. I'm really happy for you.
I forget these are public.
Do you know what's really funny?
What?
Is for the last 4 of these episodes,
Mm-hmm.
I have wrote my Letterboxd review on my notes and keep forgetting to put it on Letterboxd. So none of these are actually on Letterboxd right now. I'm gonna go do that after this episode, but if you see just a fuck ton of movies that I've already reviewed and we've talked about for several weeks, just ignore it. Just let it happen.
I've gotten pretty good at logging my movies either right after or the morning after.
At this point, with these ones, I'm so focused on I need to get the notes done that I just completely forget.
Well, I've also been letterboxing since 2018.
That's true.
So it's in my DNA now.
I'm relatively new to the Letterboxd game in that I've had a Letterboxd for 3 years and just started using it recently.
And that's how it be sometimes.
It's okay though.
But I didn't review everything when I first started and stuff. But now I got myself into that habit. So sometimes I'll type out a big paragraph review. Sometimes I'll be more like Crimson Peak Cinema.
Yeah.
Hey.
I like the jokes. They're my favorite.
It's just whatever's coming to me, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Speaking of coming, wait,
Nope.
I don't like that.
I don't know where you got that. Nope.
Supernatural alumni.
Sure. Yeah, I guess so. So this is our first episode where we actually have Supernatural alumni, and it also is our first this is a big one. So first
Okay.
I want to shout out AJ Reese and Jennifer Milria, who were stuntmen on both the movie and the show. But
Cool.
if you've watched Supernatural, then you know what I'm about to say. Jim Beaver, who plays Mr. Cushing, who plays her father in this movie, Edith's father, has a major role in Supernatural.
Okay.
He plays Bobby Singer, who is a recurring character who's a father figure to both Sam and Dean, and he's kind of like their man behind the screen. You know what I mean?
Oh.
If Sam and Dean are the guys going out and doing the stuff, Bobby Singer has all the knowledge, and he is like
Dale and Buffy.
exactly, yeah.
Wait,
Dale.
what's his name?
Dale.
What's his name?
The fuck is Dale?
He's the librarian.
Giles.
There's an L. I'm close enough.
I guess. Anyway, yes, he's like Giles and Buffy, but like a more gruff version of Giles and Buffy.
So Bobby Singer.
But yeah, he's
Okay.
like, when I say he's a recurring character, I'm pretty sure he had main character credits for like several seasons.
Oh, hell yeah.
So yeah, he this is a really good Supernatural alumni to be our first one, because he's like the guy. Other than like if we got like Jensen Ackles or Jared Padalecki, that would be the guy.
Right.
Or like Misha Collins. But like this is like the fourth guy. So
I love it.
that's pretty exciting.
I think that's awesome.
All right, Austin. Would you die?
No.
Why?
I'll tell you why.
I'm ready.
I am not a beautiful and talented woman,
That's fair.
so I wouldn't get...
This is just I'm a man, but worded differently.
You can't keep
You
saying
can't
I'm
just
a man.
keep saying I'm a man.
Okay, it's not just I'm a man. I'm a poor man with no status
That's fair.
and no name. So I wouldn't even be on their radar. But can I tell, before I ask you the titular question of the show, can I say something real quick?
Please.
The scene where he dances with Edith, the waltz, and people are gasping because he was supposed to ask some other girl, but he asks Edith instead. That girl, her name's Eunice.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is named Eunice? What? All right. Are you gonna be? Okay. Listen.
Listening, Austin.
You're gonna tell me Sir Tom Hiddleston is coming to town, and the best you have to offer is some girl named Eunice.
Eunice.
Her last name might as well be Arbogast at this point. Are you kidding me? Eunice? No wonder he picked literally anyone else. But anyways, in this scenario, I'm Eunice.
Okay. That's fair, I guess.
And Eunice lived.
That's true.
Although, if I got to meet Sir Puppington Woofford,
Worth.
he would have lived.
That's fair.
I could take Lucille.
I believe you could.
Only if Sir Puppington Woofford's life was on the line.
Only then.
Only then. But how about you? Would you die?
So originally I said I would die because I too would fall in love with Tom Hiddleston and end up in the middle of nowhere.
That's completely fair.
But you're right. I'm not rich. I got no money. That man's not coming for me. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Because, like, I won't die. So, like, that's good.
But do you think you could take on Lucille
No.
if Sir Puppington Woofford's life depended on it?
Oh, if it was between me or Sir what?
Sir Puppington Woofford?
Sir Puppington Woofford, I would save the pup. I would sacrifice myself to save the pup because I don't think I'm strong enough to take her, but I could use myself as a distraction while he got away.
That is honorable.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And that is our episode on Crimson Peak. Listeners, did you like this episode? How sad are you about the poor fate of Sir Puppington Woofford?
I think we should make stickers with Sir Puppington Woofford on them.
He should be our mascot.
We should.
But instead of using his picture, we'll use Augie instead.
Yeah, we're just gonna use Augie
so we don't get sued by Universal.
Dress him up in a little Lord's bow tie.
Oh, he likes to get dressed up. Actually, no, he doesn't. But I like when he dresses up.
He doesn't.
You don't mind.
One time I put Neil Patrick Harris, our cat, in a duck costume. He didn't enjoy it, but I did.
Oh my goodness. So, yeah, I liked this episode. I had fun.
I had a good time.
What is your social medias?
You can find me at Whimsawillow on everything. I'm going to try to be more active on Letterboxd. That's my goal for this week. So follow me there.
And I am at Austin M. Torres everywhere. I post pretty consistently on there, I think. You can find the show's social media at Would You Die Show. We're on Insta, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. We're on TikTok. I'm not very good at the TikTok. We're on Patreon.
Yes.
This has been a light month. That's my bad. My bad, friends. June won't be.
I was going to say, we've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline in terms of the Patreon starting in June. Really excited for these summer months.
If you're already part of the Patreon, thank you for your patience. It will be rewarded handsomely, dare I say.
I agree.
Our producer is the iconic Jeremy Lippitt. The music you hear at the beginning and end of each show is composed by the amazing Josie Palmer. Our graphics, which I love the graphics we have, our rebranding that's done by Alec Gibson of Crosshook Creative. He's killing it. What is your little hint for next week's episode?
I mean, we did already give it away.
Multiple times.
I
like putting you on the spot.
But all I'm saying is if you need a shave, you should watch next week's episode or listen to next week's episode.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
I'm Austin Torres.
I'm Anneliese and I.
Try not to die.